Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Faith Chats. I'm your host, Andrew Burnett, and as always, our topic is faith, family, freedom, and America. Man, I tell you what, we love doing this show, and today I'm going to tell you what, if there was a gospel music vocalist that I would love to have, well, we got her right here. Miss Leah Pettis is with us. And I first started following your ministry when you were filling in with the Perrys.
Oh wow.
Share with us a little bit about that journey.
It was awesome. It was a very humbling experience. I had got to know them, which I've grown up listening to Southern gospel music. My mom was a radio DJ about 15 minutes from our house here. And so I grew up loving Southern gospel music. It was all I listened to. And I just took a liking to the Perrys. They were my favorite, which in 2013, top mixed group in every category. And so I was doing a lot of Bill Bailey's singing competition things. And actually Bill bought me two cell phones. I tell him that all the time. But I was doing those, and the Perrys would always be there and always so encouraging and so sweet. So when Tracy got into his accident and had the stroke and stuff, um, I was headed to college, and Brian Walker was calling me on my phone, and I was like, why is he calling me? And he said it was down to two names that we came up with. He said it was you and one other girl, and he said Libby said to call you first. And I was like, wow, like a legend. And she's like, call Leah. It's huge. And I went into my dean's office and I said, so listen, I have the opportunity to go and fill in for the Perrys. I said, I don't know how long it's going to be. I don't know, I don't know what's going to happen. I got to leave Thursday. And this was Tuesday. And my dean looked at me. She said, did you say the Perrys? And I said, yes, ma'am. And she said, we've got everything taken care of, baby. You just go do what you got to do. When you're ready to come back, you let me know. I was like, okay. And I was on full scholarship. Like everything was scholarships for everything. She took care of everything. And we drove up to Nashville that Thursday. And for a year, I filled in and was with the Perrys, and it was awesome. It was such a great experience. Made so many good connections. I'm still best buds with Brian Walker. He is my brother. I don't have any siblings, so that's my brother.
Well, what was your favorite Perry song that you would sing when you were filling in with them?
Probably my favorite fast song was I Got a Hold of God this morning. And then my favorite slow song that they did was oh my goodness, I can't think of the name of it. Um but I finally convinced them to do it. It was on an older album. And I remember I told Joseph, I said, we have to do this. We have got to sing this song. And he's like, you know that? And I said, yes. And we did. It was so good. I cannot remember the name of it for the life of me right now. Um, but honestly, my favorites were the Goodman songs.
Libby has a voice for the Goodman style music that not many have. It's like, there's certain people that can sing certain songs and it
Yeah.
comes across. Libby can do God Walks the Dark Hills, and
Oh
man,
man,
she
it's the
tears that
best. I
song up.
know. I know it. I was terrified because we did Holy Hills of Heaven. I was petrified to sing Holy Hills. Like I was like, please don't make me do that. Not after her.
So fast forward, you had an exciting time at the National Quartet Convention
Yeah,
this year.
yeah, we had a good time.
Share with us a little bit about the showcase, and you even got to go to main stage, I hear.
Yes, we did. We did showcase last year, and got to go to main stage last year too. So I really thought like going into this year, I was like, it's not about making it the main stage for me. It's just getting to do what I love, what the Lord has allowed me to do, and sharing my testimony and sharing his word through song is what it's all about. And the camaraderie. Those showcases are so much fun because we're all just there for each other and it's a blast. And so this year there were some really good groups, like family groups and stuff, and I was like, I know they're going to pick a group. They had picked two soloists the days before, and I was like, they're going to pick a group. And he said my name, and I was like, are you sure? Like, I just knew. I was pointing to the little family group behind me. I was like, they got it. So I was shocked, but very honored and thankful to have been chosen. And then getting to sing on main stage, of course, total nerve. Like, my nerves were just all over the place. But it was an honor, and especially for them to let Bill introduce me, since we have such a history together. It was sweet.
So, what song did you pick to sing on main stage?
I sang a song that's on my new album. Um, that I've been terrified to do. It is a huge song. It is big, and I was so scared. But my husband, he said, you've got to do that one. I was like, "Mm, okay, if you say so." So we did it, and it went over very well. And it actually was written by Mr. Funderburk himself, and so it was an honor to do it. And the name what's the name of the song, Caleb? I'm blanking on song titles right now. I have taught 500 children today, and I'm telling you, my brain is just phew. What's the name of the song that I sang? You don't know either? You had a bad day? We're both blanking on song titles today. Love has spoken. There it is. I knew it was love something, but love has spoken. And
So,
so Marty Funderburk wrote that. And he said he wrote it a really long time ago. Nobody's ever picked it up. And I was like, I don't know how, because it is a powerful song. But yeah, it was a big one. So
so you said you got a new project out. Share with us a little bit about it.
my new project is called The Aftermath. We went through quite a trial in our family in 2019, 2020. Um, my husband and I were looking at divorce in 2019. And I was crying, praying to God, what do I do? What do I go from here? And I was laying in the floor praying, and my husband walked in the door and he said, if you're willing to try, so am I. And so we started to build our foundation back and put the Lord at the top and the priority where he should have been all along. And from there, we have built a relationship again with the Lord, with each other. And in 2020, we just began to try to pick up those broken pieces. And with the Lord's help, we did that, and decided to go back into ministry, something I swore I'd never do. I said, I will not get back on a stage. I will not sing again. I'm done. And so, anyways, when I got ready to do this album, I heard the song, The Aftermath, and I thought, that is the title. That is it. And all of the songs are just about God's redemption and his grace and his mercy. And it really does tell our story. And that's really what I wanted it to do.
So, what are some of your favorite cuts on the project that stand out to you the
I
most?
got to do one. I was so excited. I got to do a song called How About You with Scotty Inman. And so Scotty
Wow.
came and recorded with me. And that was such an honor. He is my daughter's favorite singer. End of discussion. She loves her some Scotty. And so that is one of my favorites. Getting to do that with him was pretty cool. And then my kiddos told me when I got ready to do this new album, I could not go back unless they got to sing on it. And I said, okay. So we were in the studio and we were cutting the tracks, and I looked over to Gary Prim and I said, "Can we add a tag just on the end of this song and just add Jesus loves me just on the end of it?" And he was like, "Yeah, why?" I said, "My daughter, I just want to put my girls on the very end of this song." And so on the very end of it's called Let Me Go, they you get to hear their sweet little voices come across and sing Jesus Loves Me. So those are probably my two favorites.
So, is there a song in this particular project that has brought you through? I mean, we were talking before we got on camera that you've been through some health situations recently. Is there a song on that album that brought you through the storm that you have recently been in?
I would say Greater Grace. And ironically enough, when I was listening through songs, I started to listen to Greater Grace, and I said that sounds like a Joseph Habedank song if I have ever heard one. And I go and I look at who wrote it, and sure enough, Joe wrote it. So I texted him and I said, "I think I'm going to choose this to put on my new album." And I said, "Have you cut this yet? Like, have you even, because it's so good, and it's like his testimony just written out." And but it resonated so much with my situation and everything I was going through. And it's so beautiful. And it just, in all the chaos and all the destruction that, that we face, and the insanity of the world, there's something greater that the Lord wants to take us to, and he wants to pull out of us. There's something greater that he's trying to get us to every time. And the whole time I was laying in that hospital, I was like, "Lord, I don't know why you have me here, but I know there's got to be a purpose. There's got to be a reason we're here." And while I was there, I did get to meet a little nurse, and me and her got to talking, and she rekindled that relationship with the Lord while we were there. And I know that's why God had us there. And He's always wanting to pull us a little farther. So I appreciate this song more than I would ever be able to express to Joseph, for sure. But it really does mean a lot.
Isn't it like that though? I mean, we think that we're in the hospital and, we think that we're going there to get treated, but the Lord's really got other
Something
reasons
else.
in store.
Yes.
Just this last week, I was sitting there and I was getting rolled to dialysis and I was ready for all that. But what I didn't know was there was a nurse in dialysis that really needed some encouragement. So
Right.
the Lord put me in her path, and she finds out that I'm a minister. I'm like, oh boy, this is really going to be fun. I said, because here's the two things you get to do as a minister. You either get to encourage people or you get to straighten them out. And I
Mm-hmm.
told her, I said, so which one of the two do you need? And I can do it. And I said, just don't require me to get up out of the bed because I don't have the strength to do
There
that
you
right
go.
now. But I was sitting there and she began to open up about her life. She lost her first husband at the
Mm.
age of 38 due to cardiac arrest. He was a healthy man. He was at work and just all of a sudden fell over dead with cardiac arrest, like
My
boom,
goodness.
gone. And she said, you know, she lost everything. And I said, no, honey, you didn't lose everything.
Yeah.
I said, your everything was with you, even during that hard time. And she sits there and looks at me and she said, you ain't going to even let me finish my story. But she said, Jesus saved me during that time.
Oh,
And she said, but she said, I have reason to believe that God put you here to stir my faith today. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, no, I got something better for you. I was sitting there in that hospital bed, and the Lord said, nah, I ordained this hospital visit for her. He said, you need to tell her that. He said, I come to send her a message today. And I'm sitting there, Lord, I'm not telling her that. I'm a hard headed person.
same.
Lord, I'm not telling her that. And she'll think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
And I look at her and I say, I'm normally not in this hospital. I said, I'm normally in Piedmont in Rock Hill, South Carolina. And I said, But the Lord sent me to Lancaster. And I said, Lord, why are you sending me to this hospital? And I said, you were the reason.
Mm-hmm.
She looked at me and said, wow, I never seen that woman the rest of my hospital visit. But I have reason to believe that God sent me there for her. You know, I thought I was getting treated, but there was a prayer I prayed back in 2023, coming down the stairs of my house on the way to the emergency room. Father, I'm no longer going to get treated. I'm looking for somebody to bless.
There you go. There
I
you
started
go.
witnessing the people in the emergency room, and they get scared of me when I start coming because I'm going to speak a greater authority
Yeah.
that demons have to run,
Yeah.
that infirmity cannot stand. And here's the thing: I'm one of them smart mouth people, especially when it comes to my health. And I had a doctor one time that he really didn't care. I looked at him and I said, "Let me tell you something." And he's like, "Oh boy, here we go." And I said, "The Holy Spirit can do more for me in 5 minutes than your studies can do in 4 years." I said, "So if you don't have him in you, I don't need you no way." And he looked at me and he said, "Hands off." Okay.
That's hilarious. But
But you
hey,
know,
you stood your ground.
you got to be firm in these
Yeah,
days.
for
And I've
sure.
said all that to say this. And I'm sure you with your health and your situation that you had to go through, there were times that you had to stand firm that and here's the thing. It's easy, well, especially for me, it's easy to get discouraged about your situation. It's easy, especially when you're in a dark, cold hospital room where
Mm-hmm.
nobody's coming to visit, the phone doesn't ring, you don't get a text message, it gets very quiet, and you get tired of watching the same TV show over and over and over again to the point I've watched this one movie. I won't say the name of it because I don't want no hate mail. But every time I show up to the hospital, that same movie shows up on the TV screen. No lie. And I'm sitting there. I'm tired of watching this movie. But but you get closer to God in those moments. It's those moments that really define you. When you don't have nobody around, that's the moments God defines you.
Yeah.
So share with us a little bit, if you would. If you don't want to, that's fine. About what you went through.
So I when I was about 13, 14 years old,
I
13,
don't know
14
what
years
happened to your sound. You're real muffled all of a sudden. Yeah, yeah, it's real muffled. You got a muffled sound coming from your.
I know when you're just coming through really staticky, so that's why I didn't know if it was me or not.
Hang on one second. Let me see if I can. No, that didn't work. Uh, Let me see if it's me. You might have to go out and come back in. Try that.
Okay.
Hang on one second, y'all. We're having some technical difficulties. She'll be right back. Give her just a second here. Are y'all hearing me clearly? Okay, yeah, it's not doing it now. I don't know what it was.
Yours is still muffled on my end. I don't know.
Yeah, it's still muffled. It's still really muffled.
I don't know.
Okay, let me try this. Hang on one second. Yeah, I'm not sure. Your camera just went black.
I was
Leah, are you still there? Give us just a second here, folks. Leah, are you still there?
I'm trying. Is it working?
Yeah, it's working now. I don't know what you
Okay.
did, but it's working now.
I don't know
Yep.
what I did either, but okay.
Yep. So share with us a little bit about what you went through.
So, like I was saying, when I was 13 or 14, I was diagnosed with PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. And I was told that I would never be able to have children, or if I did, it would be very difficult pregnancy. I could lose my children and things like that. And so, I grew up a children's pastor's kid, and I was a children's pastor at the time. And I was like, you know what? The Lord's given me enough babies to love on. If that's just not his will, then, we'll deal with it. And so me and my husband just kind of went on through life, and we weren't necessarily like looking to have a baby. But after about 2 years, I found out I was pregnant because I was supposed to have my gallbladder taken out. And
Ah,
my doctor called me and was like, I don't know how to tell you this, but we got your blood work back and you're pregnant. I about dropped to the floor. I was like, what? They told me I could never be pregnant. Like, what are you talking about? And so I went to the hospital that day. I called my primary care doctor and I said, listen, I need a ultrasound now. And sure enough, I was like 6 weeks pregnant. I had no idea. And we had our first daughter, and 11 months later, here come our second, Eliane. And so, anyways, I had hard pregnancies with both of them, but I'm thankful for them and every step of the way. So as our journey went on, I still had some issues and things that I would have to go have seen about. And so finally, it just got to the point that I had to have something done. And so my doctor said we're going to have to do a hysterectomy. And so I went in for what they call a hysteroscopy, so it's a little bit different, and found out that my uterus had adhered to my abdomen, and my bladder was stuck in between.
mm,
So when I came out of the first surgery, they said, Miss Pettis, we had some complications and your doctor's going to come in and talk to you. You're going to have another surgery. That's just what I wanted to hear.
okay.
So leave, come back for the second surgery. This one, they're going to have to peel it off of my abdomen, which is disgusting.
Mm.
And I didn't want to think about it. I was like, don't tell me, just do it. Blech, I don't want to talk about it. And so I go in for the second surgery, come out, everything's fine. Go home, and I could not get better. I felt terrible. I looked like I was about 9 months pregnant. I was swole up, my legs, my arms, my face. It was terrible. And so finally, my mother, we had just sold our house and had moved in with my parents for the time being. And it really was a God thing because I couldn't have gone through all of that without my mama. Like, absolutely could not have done it. And I'm an only child, so I had to have my mama anyways. And anyways, my mom, she said, Leah, your lips are blue. You are pale and your lips are blue. And I have a little niece that has a heart condition and she has a full-time nurse. And so I was talking to her, my little niece, on FaceTime, and the nurse took the phone. She said, Leah, you look awful. And I'm really hoping it's FaceTime that's making you look like this. And I was like, I can't breathe. I kept telling her, I just feel like I can't breathe. And she said, you need to go to the emergency room. They took my blood pressure. My blood pressure was just so low. And I have high blood pressure. And
Right.
so I knew, like, okay, we're going to have to do something. I stood up and I about fell over. It was awful. It took my husband and my mom helping me to get me into the car to take me to the emergency room. So we get to the emergency room, sat there for 7 hours,
Wow.
not hooked up to any fluids. I was very dehydrated. Not hooked up to any fluids or anything. They finally get us back in a room, and this little nurse comes bebopping in there. She said, "Okay, Miss Pettis, I'm here to take you to surgery." What? What do you mean, take me to surgery? And she said, "They haven't talked to you yet." And I was like, "Not a word." She said, "Let me go get your doctor." So out she goes. And Caleb was like, kept my husband, he had fell asleep. He said, "How long have I been asleep?" I said, "You haven't been asleep that long." I said, "I didn't even know this was happening." And so the third surgery happened about 6 a.m. And we had gotten there at like 7 or 8 the night before. And I was out of it all day long. Didn't wake up until I want to say that night after surgery. And my mom and daddy had already left for the day. And it was awful. It was awful. Little nurses come in that had been in the surgery to come check on me. My blood pressure plummeted. No, my blood not plummeted. It got too high in the middle of surgery. And the doctor was telling them to give me medicine and told everybody hands off because I had three surgeons. Well, I had a lead surgeon, the gynecologist, and I don't know what the other guy was, but another ologist or something in there.
Yeah.
And I had three doctors, three surgeons, and then their whole team. So when they wheeled me in there was like 40 people in that OR. And I was like looking around, what? When they wheeled me in, I said, "Am I supposed to give y'all a concert?" And the little nurse kind of chuckled. And it was a traumatic experience. I won't lie. It was awful. But like I said, I got to talk to that little nurse, and I'd do it all over again for her.
And those operating rooms, man, they're always cold and
And
you don't ever know
stressful.
what to express.
Well, and they wheeled me in there, and they had every time, because I mean, hello, this was the third one. Every time they've taken me in there, they've had music playing, and it's always been Christian music.
Right.
So they wheeled me in, and I could hear something playing, but I couldn't really figure out what it was. And finally, once things got a little calm, I could hear, because all my life you have been faithful. And I was just crying. I just had tears because I felt awful. I mean, when you're borderline septic, I had not eaten anything for almost a week and a half at that point. I was miserable. And I'm just laying there squalling like, "God, I need an answer of why I'm having to go through this." I had plans. I had just quit my job, was going to go into ministry full time. And that happened. I literally, like, it was a domino effect. And missed my daughter's second and third grade graduations and
Mm.
their awards day, and both of them prayed over their ceremonies for those awards days, and I missed it. And it was awful. But like I said, I'd do it again for that one little nurse.
Well, Leah, thank you so much for coming on with us. I encourage people they can find out more information about you by just searching your name on Facebook, Leah Pettis. It's easy to find. You're a great singer. I encourage them to go
Oh, thank
buy
you.
your music. And your mom and dad just made a comment that said she will not say it, but the devil tried to take her out.
Yeah, yeah. They're right. They're right. They are right.
Well, you know, you're not the only one because as
Yep.
we were talking before, well, we can just say it this way: you're looking at two walking miracles
That's
right here.
right. That's right.
But and we can close on this ending note here. If it wasn't for the test, there would be no
Be no
testimony.
testimony. That's right.
And some people, when the test comes, they want to give up. But
Mm-hmm.
it's through the test that we get endurance to keep going,
Yep.
persistence, and faith. And they all work together.
Yep.
Leah, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Have a great night.
You too, buddy. Bye.
All right. Bye.